You know what? Marvin Gaye has to be smiling down about that version of Sexual Healing.
Isn't that great?
It is the actual soundtrack from Chef Jon Favreau and John Leguizamo are singing a karaoke version in a food truck at the top of their lungs. Remember that day?
Yes. Yeah, it was great. That was something that wasn't necessarily in the script, but it was a song that Mathieu Schreier, who's our music supervisor, he had pulled a lot of music beforehand. And for when we're leaving New Orleans, I thought that what a great song with the New Orleans sound, but still had a little bit of smirk to it because it was a cover of that R&B classic. Mm-hmm. And I said, let's just do a take where we're all singing and let's see how the kid reacts and because they're finally feeling happy and excited. And boy, that's a song that you just can't help but smile when you hear.
The kid you're speaking of, M.J. Anthony, plays little Percy, and I think you corrupted him.
How?
Well, I hate to say this, Jon Favreau. I saw an interview with the kid.
Yeah.
He's talking to Leguizamo, and he goes, "I can describe Chef in 2 words."
Oh, really?
And that's exactly what Leguizamo said.
Yeah.
He goes, "What are they?" And he goes, "Breadstick."
Yeah. Yes, I know what you're talking about. That's an interesting story. So what you're talking about, for those of you at home, is Leguizamo is at a certain point when they're prepping food in the kitchen, Leguizamo goes, "Hey, Percy, take a look." And you think he's going to show him something important. He grabs a baguette and holds it like it's a part of his anatomy.
Throbbing baguette.
And then he goes, "Woo!" And the kid laughs, and it's funny.
What a great kid. M.J. Anthony. And another thing that he said, and I want to, before you start talking about him, and he said that you were right there, toe-to-toe, helping him through his first scene as a young actor where he had to cry.
Yeah, that's right.
He's always gonna remember that. What take us there.
That was great. That was there's a scene where we're talking about how, we're traveling cross country during the summer, and it's clear that this kid has been wanting to spend time with his dad, wanting to be let in the kitchen, and he's 10 years old and the dad won't let him in. Now, finally, over the course of the film, the kid is being indoctrinated into this world and learning to be a cook and learning about his dad, and they're connecting on great levels, and the dad's connecting with him, and then finally you're realizing that the road trip's going to probably come to an end, the summer's going to be over, the kid's going to be back in school, and he's letting the kid down. And the kid doesn't want to let go of these experiences that they're having. And so there's a scene where we're sitting on top of the food truck after a service at night watching a band play, and we're sitting there, and I start telling him that that's what's going to happen. And we did the scene, and he does a great job. He's a very honest actor, great kid. And at that point, this was the last day we were filming, and we're out of town, we're in Austin, and I said, "Look, let's give it another shot. You did a great job. But let's really, you want to be an actor, you like this?" Now, this is his first big role in a movie like this. He's done stuff before, but this was one where the movie's on his shoulders. And he said, "Yeah, you like it? Yeah. Now, there's another level we could go with the scene, and I don't need to see you crying outright, but you got to think things because the camera gets right in there and it knows what you're thinking. And I don't know what you have to think about, and you're young, and if this is hard, you don't have to do it. But if there's something you could think about that will get you to the place of feeling this way underneath the lines, do it. I'll keep in the crew, because we're on top of a truck, the crew wasn't around, they were all waiting. And I said, let's try to do one more, and you tell me when you're ready." And he sat there, and with the focus of an adult actor, a trained actor, he sat there, and somehow, and I didn't know, I thought it was 50-50 at best. Even with a trained actor, it's hard on a first film. And then I saw him start to mist over, and I said, let's get the cameras going. Let's just go right into it. And we did it a few times, and he started to go too far, and I had him pull it back and then simplify it and really ride that line where you just see it behind the performance and you see that the kid's really feeling deeply but trying to hold back. And boy, there's nothing more heartbreaking than seeing a kid, especially like him with such an expressive face, wanting to cry but not letting himself. And we really used it very sparingly, but boy, does it add impact. And and that's when I said to myself, and I had to talk to him afterwards, saying, "Hey, look, you felt real things. This is hard stuff for grown-ups, and it was hard for me to do for the first time. But this is part of what we do, and if this is okay, you can do it more. And if it's not, this is part of the gig, and just be ready for it. And it's not always going to be like this where you got somebody to be there and talk you through it, who does it, who also knows how to do it as an actor. But he was a champ, and he held it together, did a great job, and, this kid is going to be, anybody would be lucky to have him working on a movie. I hope to work with him again. But he really put in the work and did it from an honest place. It wasn't just kid crocodile tears where they're pretending to cry.
Jon, is there any way that you actually get emotional in the editing process and post-production?
Oh, I get emotional every time I see the film. If I watch, and I've seen it dozens of times now, there are things, because it connects to things in my life, not things that are obvious, but like my parents were divorced. I remember my dad waiting for him, and he was a good dad. I mean, it wasn't like he was a deadbeat dad. But he was busy and running around and working a job or two, and then if he showed up, a half hour late on the day we're supposed to hang out, when you're 7 years old, 8 years old, you're like a Labrador waiting on the porch, and you forget in that kid's life how important you are as a parent, because you think you're doing a good job, and he was, but I also remember there's a certain sadness that a kid feels when they just don't understand why, especially if mommy and daddy get along and they're divorced. They don't understand why. And I remember that feeling of just wishing that they would be together and not understanding why they weren't. And then when those scenes come up in the film, because I really see the film more through the kid's eyes than through the chef's eyes, to be honest with you, especially the second half of the film. And I see that kid wanting to be around his dad. I see that kid wanting to be in the kitchen. I see him wanting to be a grown-up. I see him wanting to get his parents together. And he plays it so well, and I really feel that, because movies are about wish fulfillment and about fantasy, and the wish fulfillment I remember very clearly from being young is remembering what that feeling was, and through movies what you do is you kind of make things come true because you have that magic, and you could create stories that make happy endings, So it was that's the part that gets me the most, and when they connect, and I think moments of connection between people that are real, if they're performed well, they touch you, and because all of a sudden it's all fake as a movie, but there's something real at the core. And to me, if you could feel something, and if I can make myself feel something when I watch it, there's a good chance other people are going to feel something too. And I just, on the big ones, I love doing the big movies, but it's so hard to make people feel things on the big movies. It's so hard because there's so much other stuff going on. And if you could get a moment of sincerity in a big film, in all that craziness going on, all that spectacle, it's amazing. But a film like this, you could spend the whole film just trying to get laughs, get to truth, and get to an honest emotional connection to it. And I think I feel good coming out of a movie like that, and I still feel it even though I've seen it over and over again. I'm happy I got to do something like this.
When I walked out of seeing Chef, I thought to myself, Jesus, Sofia Vergara, I've never seen her do something like that before. It was honest, funny. She just, every single sentence out of her mouth. And by the way, the greatest ex-wife in the history of ex-wives. But how did you get such a wonderful performance as a director? How did you do it?
It didn't take much. I mean, she's very smart, She's very smart. And she's great on Modern Family, and she knows how to work that material. And she's done other things, and she's had a life of experience, and she gets what this type of movie is. And plus, she was reading me, and I was like, look, just make it real. If the words that I wrote aren't good, and half the time they're not real, let's find a better way for you to say it. And let's throw in, I don't speak Spanish. Say what you would say in Spanish. How you would word something. Really do it.
That has to comfort her.
I think so. It's like, let's take any obstacle out of the way of making this thing feel real, and then let's talk about what the scene's about. So this scene's really about you feeling bad about the kid. This scene's really about you trying to get me to go with you on a trip. This scene's about you trying to slow me down because you see that I'm getting into trouble. So as long as the subtext is dialed in, and once she, got what my intention was as a writer, there was a lot of latitude. And she's just really, has look, I like smart people. I like to work with smart people. And she's really she's really sharp. And that's, to me, if you got somebody who's smart, you could get to where you need to get to.
Well, Chef is actually a road picture. I mean, let's go to New Orleans. Let's go to Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Let's go to Miami. So let's take it in the order that you went filming. Did you film out of sequence?
We for the road trip, we were in sequence. We started off in Venice, California, and then we worked our way to Little Havana.
That First Friday
Yeah.
in Venice?
Yeah, it's real.
If you don't know what First Friday is, First Friday, go ahead, John, tell them.
Yeah, First Friday's there's a street called Abbot Kinney, which is kind of a flashy little strip there in Venice that has a lot of restaurants and has a lot of bars and clothing stores. It's just a unique kind of funky street that's been growing over the decades. And the first Friday of every month, the food trucks are all allowed to come and park up and down the street.
Dozens.
And dozens and dozens and dozens. And it becomes like an outdoor festival. And the truck that, the Kogi truck, which Roy Choi, the chef I work with, it started off in the parking lot of the Brig, which was a saloon there. And so his truck and about 5 other trucks are in that parking lot, and everything else spreads through the streets from there. But it looks like, the San Gennaro Festival back home in New York. It's like a street festival of food where people go out. And so much like in the style of how we did Swingers, because we couldn't really afford to have all the extras, we really filmed during a First Friday, and we plugged the El Jefe Cubano truck, which was the truck from the film, right there, and we filmed during First Friday. So you'll see nice big crane shots of Venice with all those people. And
are you pushing out real food there?
Yeah, we had real food, and it was good food. And as a matter of fact, we've done pop-ups, and we may be doing another one this weekend. I don't know when this, but we did pop-ups where we actually served the food from the movie, and Roy Choi prepares like the Cuban sandwiches, and we'll open for a few hours. We'll tweet about it. People will line up. Last time we did it at the Line Hotel in Koreatown, there were, I think, 500 people lined up to taste the sandwiches from the film. So
not just any sandwich, Jon Favreau. The sandwich from El Jefe, which is tattooed on the knuckles.
Yes.
By the way, that means the boss, if you don't know, or the big cheese. The meat that Leguizamo's Martin was preparing. Take us through the... don't leave anything out.
Yeah. Okay. So this is so the idea is that this guy is been working in a French restaurant in Brentwood. He doesn't have any flavor in his life, and part of what connects him back to his passion is, along with John Leguizamo, and he starts exploring the Cuban food that he used to cook back in Miami with them back when times were good for like family meal. And so the Cuban sandwich becomes the first menu item that they create for this food truck. And now Roy Choi oversaw this preparation. And what goes into a Cuban sandwich is you got roast pork, you got ham,
slow roasted
pickle. I'll go into it.
So fast.
The overall is it's pork, it's ham, it's pickle, it's mustard, it's cheese on a Cuban bread. So the first thing you do is you take the pork and you marinate it for a day or two in a mojo, in like a brine and a marinade that brings all this subtle flavor to it, and then you slow roast it so that it becomes tender like butter, because all the fat's incorporated into it, all the marinade is absorbed. You slice that, you throw those slices up on the grill, and you get a nice little char on that. In the meantime, you just throw some ham on there too. You do like 2 slices of pork, 3 of ham, or 3 of pork, 2 of ham. Now you take that bread, you put some butter on the inside, slice it. Now you put that on the grill so the inside gets a nice little crust. You build the sandwich, you throw mustard end to end, you throw your Swiss cheese on it and pickle. Now you close it up and you butter both sides of it, and you throw that on a Cuban press, on a plancha. And then you let that thing get nice and golden and crispy like a grilled cheese sandwich. The cheese melts, you cut that thing in half. And now all of a sudden you've had your daily allowance of cholesterol and calories, but it's amazing. And just like in the movie, people are lining up around the block for the sandwich. When you taste Roy Choi's version of this Cuban sandwich, I brought some home for my family. My mother-in-law ate 2 of them before anybody got one, because she had one for breakfast and one for lunch, and then we had to start splitting the ones that were left over for the rest of the family.
He's intense, Roy Choi, huh?
He's a pretty intense guy. Well, he's a dude who was, he was real rock bottom. He wrote a book called L.A. Son. He dealt with addiction, with gambling. He didn't have many years left in this world if he had been going down the path he went. And then he found food. He found cooking. And then he went to the CIA, the Culinary Institute, upstate New York in Hyde Park. And then he became a model student. And then he worked his way up in the big kitchens in New York like Le Bernardin. And then he was running big kitchens here in Los Angeles, hotels and restaurants. And then finally, just like in the movie, which is why I connected with him, he lost his passion. It all fell apart. He hit bottom. He didn't know where he was going to work. He couldn't get a job. He was overqualified for who wanted him. He couldn't call the shots in the big jobs. And that's when he bought a taco truck back in, I think, 08 or 09. And he opened a Twitter account, which was brand new at the time. Mm-hmm. He started making Korean barbecue flavored tacos, the Kogi truck. Next thing you know, 10 people, 20 people, 400 people because of Twitter.
Wow.
And that's how he built his reputation and worked his way up. And now he's got, I think, 4 restaurants. And he's co-producing movies, and he's got his Kogi trucks swarming the streets too. So it's a real inspiring story.
And stay during the credits because there's a nice scene with him at the end of Chef.
Yes, you get a little insight into how he was training me and how intense and how soulful he is. And you'll see him, the grilled cheese sandwich I'm cooking for my kid. You know, what's the big deal about a grilled cheese sandwich? It's cheese, it's bread, it's butter.
It's everything.
But when you see how it's prepared and filmed in the film, and then you see how he was coaching me to cook it, even a grilled cheese sandwich can be magical. And at the end of the credits, you'll see I had some outtakes of his. I rolled the camera when we were rehearsing, and you could get a little insight into how lucky I was to have this guy teaching me.
It's the only thing in the world.
Yeah, that's the last line. He says, and if you screw this up, everything sucks in the world.
Jon Favreau's in studio. We're going to stick around for one more. You're listening to the Film Freak Movie Interview. Chef is in theaters. It's delicious. You have to see it. We'll be right back.